Karamihan sa inyo hindi na-recommend itong video card na to, the Radeon RX 9060XT 8GB. Yes, kahit naman ako medyo nahihirapan i-recommend ito ngayong 2025. Pero hear me out, kasi kung tinatawanan o minamaliit nyo tong video card na to, baka hindi talaga kayo ang target audience nito. Quick disclaimer, yes, sponsored itong video na to. And yes, alam ko na din agad ang type dyan sa comment section area. 8GB in 2025? Lugi ka na dyan. Sayang pera nyo dyan. Pero seryoso, bakit nag-i-exist pa din ang Gigabyte RX 9060XT 8GB variant? May 16GB version naman to, di ba? Bakit ka pa bibili ng mas mababa? Simple lang, budget reality and constraints. Kunwari, magbibuild ka ngayon, tight ang budget mo. As in, sagad. Hindi na kayang dagdagan dahil may iba ka pang bayarin. Lalo na ngayon, nagmamahal ang mga components na related sa memory. You have two choices. Pipiliin mo ba ang 16GB version na mas mahal, pero mapipilitan kang mag-cut ng cost somewhere? Let's say, garanti sabog na power supply o mabagal na SSD. Lower RAM or motherboard. O kukunin mo to and you get a balanced system. Today, we're going to prove na kung 1080p gaming ka lang naman at wala kang balak mag-upgrade ng monitor anytime soon, this card is not just enough. It is exactly what you need. Pero bago tayo pumunta sa benchmarks at sa VRAM debate between 8GB or 16GB, tingnan muna natin itong Gigabyte Radeon RX 9060XT Gaming Aussie 8GB. Gigabyte didn't chip out here. Technically, all the same features sa 16GB version nito. VRAM lang ang pinagkaiba. You're getting their signature WindForce cooling system, 3 unique bladed fans, spinning alternate para less turbulence at mas tahimik. Meron din tayong screen cooling sa likod para lusot agad ang hangin. So even if we push the card hard, it stays cool. Syempre, may RGB lighting din para sa dagdag na aesthetic points. Although very minimal. May metal backplate din which serves as protection against PCB bending. Under the hood, this is powered by AMD's latest RDNA 4 architecture. Meron kang multiple enhanced encoding options like AV1, HEVC, or H.264. So kung streamer ka, mas malinaw ang stream mo kahit low bitrate. Din ng FSR4 at fluid motion frames. Ito yung magic. Even if a game is heavy, FrameGen technology can literally double your FPS. Pero hardware is just half the story. We also have the new AMD Adrenalin Software para sa mga gusto ng instant performance improvement. Nandito ang Hyper RX2, isang click lang, activated na ang fluid motion frames 2.1 para sa smoother FPS. At Radeon Anti-Lag 2 para sa crisp response time sa competitive games like Valorant. Kung streamer or content creator ka naman, built-in na ang AMD noise suppression using AI ng RDNA4. Tinatanggal nito ang background noise in real time. Meron din bagong AMD Chat, isang offline AI assistant para sa PC mo where you can ask questions like how to optimize this game. Lahat yan nasa isang app lang. Okay, let's talk about the performance. Sinubukan namin to sa usual game suspects in 1080p max settings. Start tayo sa esports titles, Valorant, CS2, and Marvel Rivals. Dito, hindi masyado issue ang VRAM. Texture streaming is somewhat like on these games. So the Radeon RX 9060XT 8GB can absolutely drive it. On Valorant, pumapalo tayo dito ng more than 500 FPS average. So walang problema kahit taasan pa natin ang settings nito. CS2 at 1080p very high, makakuha tayo ng average of around 180 FPS. So kayang-kaya kahit higher refresh rate display ang gamitin mo. Even at 1440p, it remains decently playable with an average of around 100 FPS. Kung naka-high refresh rate monitor ka like 144 or 165Hz, masusulit mo din yung monitor dahil mas magiging smooth ang experience mo. Comparing these figures with the 16GB variant, we can see that the difference may be substantial pagdating sa FPS. Pero would it matter ba if you're just playing with a monitor na hindi kayang tapatan ang FPS mo in terms of refresh rate dahil pinili natin yung mas mahal na GPU? Another game in our testing is Marvel Rivals, kung saan we've tested this with enhancement features like FSR3. At 1080p Ultra with no FSR turn on, we have only around 87 FPS average. But when we turn on the magic, which is FSR, almost 3 times ang inangat ng ating FPS without sacrificing much visual quality. So kahit mag 1440p ka pa na resolution, as long as may FSR ka, kayang-kaya laruin ng smooth nito. Pero paano sa mga AAA game? Let's try Cyberpunk 2077. At 1080p Ultra, without any enhancements such as ray tracing and FSR, I think very playable na din ito with around 110 FPS average. And tataas pa yan once we enable FSR. But what if we try to turn on ray tracing on overdrive preset as well as FSR3 without frame gen? Dahil sa ray tracing, mas maganda ang visuals pero syempre mas mababa ang FPS at only around 75 FPS average. The 8GB VRAM is holding up fine kasi 1080p lang ang texture assets na niloload natin, so there's not much stuttering. Here's the truth. Kung i-on mo ang ray tracing sa Ultra or even overdrive, yes, kakapusin na ang 8GB variant. Pero real talk tayo, and sa price point na to, bibili ka ba ng mid-range card para mag-ray tracing ng todo? Hindi, di ba? You turn off ray tracing, you keep textures at high, and then enable FSR, and you enjoy the game with much better FPS. Also on Battlefield 6, on 1080p overkill, we already getting around 80 FPS. But by adding FSR and frame gen, we were getting more FPS, now around 150 FPS average. And lastly, sa Black Myth Wukong at 1080p cinema settings, we're getting around 42 FPS average without FSR. Then at 100% scaling, we can see the limits of this card, even with FSR turned on. Doon naman tayo sa presyo. The 16GB variant exists. It is better, technically. Mas future-proof, pero usually may price premium yan nasa around more or less 5,000 pesos. Isipin mo, yung halagang yun, that's your upgrade from 16GB RAM to 32GB na RAM, which I think mas essential with today's applications. Or upgrade from 500GB SSD to 1TB Gen 4 Nvme, or even much better power supply. Sa 1080p gaming, mas ramdam mo ang bilis ng system mo sa mga upgrade na yon, kaysa sa extra VRAM na hindi naman napupuno ngayon. Ang sakit kasi sa atin, gusto natin ng future-proof, pero ang wallet natin pang present day lang. If you're strictly a 1080p gamer and are not planning to play 1440p and beyond, the Radeon RX 9060XT 8GB is arguably the smarter financial choice right now. Hindi nyo din naman kailangan naka-ultra settings lagi sa lahat ng laro, lalo na kung ang priority nyo is smoother gaming experience. So, para kanino pa tong Gigabyte Radeon RX 9060XT 8GB? Para sa akin, para ito sa mga gamer na practical, yung gusto maglaro ngayon, hindi yung nag-iipon para sa potential gaming needs nila 5 years from now. Kita naman natin, pwede pa rin for 1080p gaming. I'd say more than enough pa nga on most. And it fits the budget. Huwag magpa-pressure sa internet. Just enjoy your games.